In the fall of 2019, millions RSVP'd to a massive online event proposing a coordinated raid on a military base in the Nevada desert. People showed up carrying signs, wearing costumes, and rallying around a single globally recognized idea that the government was hiding extraterrestrial life inside Area 51. Despite this overwhelming public obsession, the United States government maintained absolute silence on the matter. For decades, federal agencies flatly refused to acknowledge that the facility even existed on a map. On the ground, the perimeter was secured by miles of chain-link fence, motion sensors, and heavily armed guards. Warning signs bordering the installation promised $1,000 fines, imprisonment, and explicitly authorized the use of deadly force against anyone who crossed the line. Documents now reveal that the facility was established to house a high-stakes technology race during the Cold War. In the effort to protect sensitive engineering projects from Soviet spies, the intelligence community erected a wall of absolute secrecy. That information vacuum allowed the public imagination to run wild, creating a space where the most enduring modern myth in American history could take root. The Central Intelligence Agency needed a massive, isolated testing ground far from prying eyes. They found it at Groom Lake, Nevada, a vast, completely flat dry lakebed surrounded by mountains, providing a natural fortress for classified aviation. The agency brought in aerospace engineer Kelly Johnson and his elite Skunk Works division from Lockheed. Their mandate was to design an entirely new class of reconnaissance aircraft. The result was the U-2 spy plane. It was built to sustain flight above 60,000 feet, an altitude so high that Soviet radar arrays and anti-aircraft missiles of the time couldn't reach it. At the time, commercial aviation looked very different. A standard airliner of the mid-1950s typically operated at only a fraction of that height, rarely climbing above 20,000 feet. This gap in altitude created a recurring optical illusion. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a plane at 20,000 feet would enter the darkness of the Earth's shadow. But 40,000 feet higher, the U-2 remained bathed in direct sunlight, its silver airframe reflecting brightly against a blackening sky. When pilots in the darkened lower altitudes looked up, that brilliant reflection appeared as a glowing, ambiguous object hovering in the stratosphere. These sightings provided some of the first physical descriptions of what the public was beginning to call flying saucers. As Soviet missile technology advanced, the Skunk Works team had to evolve. They shifted their focus from aircraft that could simply fly high to aircraft that could outrun missiles entirely. The A-12 and its successor, the SR-71 Blackbird, featured a radar-absorbing geometry coated in black titanium. They could fly at 3 times the speed of sound, designed specifically to withstand the intense friction of edge-of-space flight. To protect these designs, the CIA relied on strict compartmentalization. Information was siloed so effectively that mechanics working on the engines often had no idea what the fully assembled plane looked like. When these fast, sharp-angled vehicles began test flights across the American Southwest, the number of civilian UFO sightings skyrocketed once again. The intelligence community noticed the surge in public panic and made a calculated decision. Rather than correct the record and reveal their aerospace projects, they allowed the rumors to spread. To foreign spies trying to parse American intelligence, the noise of thousands of civilian UFO reports acted as camouflage. Military planners found a public obsession with aliens far more useful than a Soviet intelligence breach. The reality of Groom Lake remained hidden until 2013, when the CIA officially declassified the operational history of Area 51 and released the internal project documents to the public. This chart overlays the frequency of regional UFO reports from the 1950s and 60s against the classified Skunk Works test flight schedules. The spikes in sightings align directly with the testing of the U-2 and the SR-71 programs. Within this exhaustive archive of internal communications and flight logs, there is detailed documentation of cost overruns, engineering failures, and pilot errors. However, the archive contains no mention of Roswell debris or recovered alien crafts. With the declassification of these records, science fiction theories are being replaced by the documented history of black-budget engineering. Area 51 functioned as a high-stakes laboratory where theoretical designs were translated into physical flight. Engineers in the 1950s and 60s used analog tools and physical prototypes to solve aerodynamic problems that had never been attempted, pushing aircraft to the literal edge of space. The documented human achievements of these teams are often eclipsed by the fictional myths their work inadvertently created. The site's history demonstrates the scale of human engineering under pressure and how effectively a lack of information allows us to populate the desert with monsters.